Really, it was a big motivator for us to writing this book, was to push back precisely against Mearsheimer's argument, which is disconnected not only from the deeper history, but from the immediate facts and history that he is discussing himself. It's very superficial, and in the book we show how the geopolitical divergence that did happen between Russia and Ukraine really cannot be the cause of this war, because it is in fact the consequence of it. It happens only after Russia first invades in 2014 that we see real steps by Ukraine to geopolitically diverge. Up until then, they are very tentative steps, very cognizant all the time of the Russian-Ukrainian relationship and respectful of it, and also with absolutely minimal support by the West. I mean, basically, we had a few overtures by the Ukrainian government over time to sort of balance between Russia and the West that were often rebuffed by the West. So the timeline of his argument absolutely falls apart. It just does not work with the facts.
Yeah, and I would just add to it, sort of, as kind of maybe wearing my professorial hat here for a minute, that I almost find that, I mean, not only obviously his argument is factually wrong and there is, evidence against it that doesn't fit it, and they don't really have any good rejoinder to it, because the evidence is the evidence, right? Like you look at the opinion polls in Ukraine with less than 25% support of NATO, with the West not wanting to invite Ukraine, like everybody knowing this, Putin knowing this, like how exactly is NATO expansion was some sort of imminent threat to Russia. But what is really shocking to me as a social scientist, that how many of these people are completely like reluctant to acknowledge, right, and sort of like reflect on their beliefs and hypotheses and theories in light of this evidence. This is what we teach students. We say like, okay, here is an argument that says X caused Y, but if we actually look at the evidence and we find that in case like this, X actually didn't cause Y, and there was like A, B, and C that caused Y instead. As a responsible social scientist, we should say like, well, this assumption or this hypothesis actually does not work in this case, right? Like it may or may not work elsewhere, but it doesn't work in this case. But it's always shocking to me when I talk to them, and I've talked to a few sort of, realists, and they don't want to do this, right? They like say, well, we'll have to agree to disagree. I mean, it's okay to agree to disagree, but you also have to say like, these sets of facts that you're pointing to indeed do not fit my theory. And they just completely reluctant to say that. And I think that's both kind of, bad social science and just makes it for not very convincing set of arguments.